Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be about Leeds United versus Burnley, a bit of a tactical preview talking about what they might bring and how Leeds might combat that. And of course, before we get into it, make sure you go ahead and hit that big red button down below because we're trying to hit 10k as soon as possible. Today's video, like I said though, is going to be about Leeds United versus Burnley. After a long international break, Leeds are back in action, this time against Burnley, who of course are a team who've just been relegated from the Premier League. So whilst they've lost a lot of players, they're still decent. They currently sit in 7th place, if I remember correctly. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Scott Parker will set them up and who to look out for as kind of danger men and how Leeds might potentially combat that as well. So Leeds, coming into this game, have had a good lot of international performances, like you saw in my video the other day, and we've unfortunately had a few injuries as well now. Max Verber is struggling with his meniscus, I think, so that means that he will be sidelined for this fixture. Dan James is going to be out now for about 4 weeks, having had an injury on his recovery from his first injury, and so I fully expect somebody like Laji Ramazani to come into the team. So that's kind of your team news. The other thing I want to talk about is the actual way that Burnley are going to set up. Now, Burnley are pretty tactically flexible, and whilst in possession a lot of the time, they will play fairly attacking football in a bit of a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 at times. But potentially, because Leeds are one of the better sides in the division, because Elland Road is an away fixture for them, a tough place to come, I do feel like they will kind of go into their defensive side of things, which for me means that somebody like Vitinho, who plays on their right wing, who is a little bit of a right winger slash right midfielder slash right wing back slash right back, so he can play anywhere down that side really. And I think what happens is he tucks in, he pulls all the way back and tucks in and goes to the right back position, pushing Connor Roberts inside to make a back 5. So you'd have your left back, then you'd have Dara O'Shea, Connor Roberts, and whoever their other centre back is, making up a 3 centre backs and a full back on either side, which is one of the wingers that's been pulled in. And then you have a bit of a 2 in midfield, which will be Brownhill and whoever's alongside him, and then a front 3 as well. So what that allows Burnley to do is pack their own box. Defensively, they will provide a real test for Leeds United, because Leeds will have to try to break down what will be a very packed and crowded penalty area. So, look, it's important that we move the ball well. Now, this is something that I've been harping on about, Joe's been harping on about, we've all been saying for a long time now about making sure that Leeds move the ball quickly. Now, it's something that has happened so far in the last couple of games. Against Hull City and against Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds were able to move the ball a bit quicker, open spaces up and get in behind. Now, the reason why it's so important in this game, I think, is because you're going to have a lot of Burnley players with themselves basically in the box. And what needs to happen is Leeds need to pull them out of position to open up space to play the ball in. Now, there's a couple of ways we can do this. The first one, and throughout, will need to be that we need to play the ball quickly to not let them get settled enough in their positions. Now, the two important things that we do is make sure our rotations are good up front. You know that we like to swap. Whoever's on the right wing will cut inside and go in the number 10 role, and vice versa with the left wing, and the wingers might swap entirely. You might get a striker dropping in and number 10 going into the striker position. It's very much a fluid front four when it comes to Leeds United, and I think that's one of the keys that Leeds United will be able to use to unlock the Burnley defence. And I think if they get that right, there's going to be a little bit of confusion within the Burnley defence about who's marking who. That's when you start to see a few mistakes. They have made a few mistakes. They've made 3 mistakes this season that have led to shots, which isn't a massive amount, but it's enough to think, okay, we could potentially exploit that. And I do think that Leeds are a team where when we've got that many good attacking players, you are going to force them into 1 or 2 mistakes throughout a 90-minute game of football. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward to seeing from us in the first aspect of unlocking their defence. The second one is third man runs from midfield. Now, the reason I think this is important is because when they've got so many players back, let's say they've got 5 players back and we've got 4 players in our attack, essentially, haven't we? And then you've got Ampadu, whoever plays alongside him, usually Gruev in that midfield, and then you've got your defenders behind. So essentially, we're playing 4 against them up front, 4 against 5. Now, when you bring in, of course, Junior Firpo and Jayden Bogle, who can push up and become part of that, you're then eventually saying, okay, now we've got 6 against 5 on the way of Leeds United. But they obviously drop their holding midfielders in. It's a little bit of a chess game with who goes where. But then what I want to see is the third man run from our midfielder, because of course if they've got 5 at the back, the whole point of us having overlapping fullbacks is for us to create overloads against their fullback. But we can't do that if they've got basically 2 fullbacks on the right hand side and 2 fullbacks on the left hand side, and still a couple of defenders in the middle. So what's important is that the third man run is the one that creates the overload. So if it's Ilya Gruev, if it's Al Tanaka, if it's Joe Rothwell, whoever it is from that number 8 role, they're going to have to get forward in this game and they're going to have to make runs beyond everybody into the box to try and receive the ball. And I think that's what's going to open up the play a little bit. I watched some clips and some highlights of Burnley games, and it looks like that is where opposition teams have had a little bit of joy because they're so structurally organised. They're so defensively sound, Burnley. It's when teams go, okay, we're going to throw an extra player at you that you weren't expecting and try and make them make that run in behind. That's when you tend to see Burnley go, okay, whose man's that? And that's when you might tend to see some little mistakes creeping in from them. So that's the important things for me. In terms of Leeds breaking them down, move the ball fast. Make sure that your rotations are good and you're trying to create overloads down the wings as much as you can. And try to bring a midfielder from the number 8 role into play by having them make third man runs into the box. So that's on the attacking side of things for Leeds. Defensively, Burnley are averaging 2.5 goals per game, which I think is skewed because they did win a game 4-1 or 5-1 or something like that. I think they won 4-1 against Sheffield United, but even so, averaging 2.5 goals per game. Leeds need to be defensively strong. We need to make sure that when we are defending, we are having Junior Firpo, Jayden Bogle get back into position, but not only that, but the wingers come back to support them as well, because whilst defensively, when Burnley drop into their shape, when they haven't got the ball, they're going to have a back 5. Best believe that Vitinho is going to run up the pitch and try to create that kind of overload and basically get up and down like a proper wing back. So Leeds need to make sure that they pull their wingers back in. They make sure the holding midfielders are in good positions to try to negate that kind of counter-attack play from Burnley. The other thing is Josh Brownhill. Now, Josh Brownhill in the Premier League isn't the best player in the world, but in the Championship, he's a very good player. He's a very good distributor. He has created a lot of chances for Burnley this season already so far, and he is a little bit of their kind of dictator in the midfield. He's the one who everything goes through. He's the one who will get forward, make third man runs, and actually try and score goals himself, because he's actually their top scorer with, granted, only 2 goals. But he's scored a couple of goals. He gets forward. Leeds need to make sure that they're tracking runners as well. That's one of the important things. We always watch as runners run into the box. Gruev can often be guilty of this. He's letting a runner just go past them, get all the way into the box, and score. And you think, where's Gruev? He's on the edge of the box. He hasn't tracked his run. So we need to make sure that we are on it with tracking runs, because they will make third man runs into the box from midfield, especially players like Josh Brownhill. So we need to make sure that we combat that. That's pretty much it for this game. I'm looking forward to it. I will be live, of course, so make sure you come and get in the chat. Let me know what you think about Burnley and about the kind of tactical conversations that we've had in this video, and feel free to join in on that in the comments down below. That's been it for this one, though. See you live for that game on the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching Leeds Lately. See you in the next one.